Bedtime. Brooks and Evelyn.
Hello, and welcome back to our storytelling session. Today's topic is going to be a famous fable written by the Greek writer and storyteller Aesop. This fable is also very popular and is told throughout the world, just like the previous video, The Three Little Pigs. Aesop was a slave. He wanted to get his job just by writing stories or fables, if he wants to call it. As if you didn't know, Aesop most often writes fables about animals, people, or life lessons. Today's fable is going to be, if you know, The Fox and the Crow. Be happy if you want to listen to this story, and we will begin storytelling now. It was winter time in the forest. The trees were all barren, and the ground was covered in layers and layers of snow. There was absolutely no food for the animals to find. They were all cozy, either hibernating or looking for food to store themselves for the winter. At that very moment, there was a crow. She thought about this. Oh, it's winter, so there's absolutely nothing to eat. How would I ever want to find something to eat? Then she wondered again. During winter, I know food is scarce, but there at least has to be something left by someone. At least I know there'll still be some seeds on the ground dropped by the squirrels. Then, suddenly, as she was thinking, she saw something that made her mouth water greatly. Wow! It turned out that there was a big piece of steak on the ground that were dropped by people. And the crow was very, very happy. Oh, those must be food dropped by people. And with that, she flew down happily from the tree, picked the piece of steak from the ground, and flew it back onto the tree in order to prepare herself for a feasty dinner meal. She started to take a bite and wondered just how juicy and sweet the piece of steak or meat would be. Wow! I have never thought of this before. It turned out that food dropped by humans is much better than just food naturally growing in the wilderness. And with that, she continued to eat, hoping that her body would satisfy from the food. However, Crow did not know one thing, and that was there was someone else in the forest looking for food, and that someone was a sly fox. He had not eaten anything for several days during the winter as his stomach was totally flat. He started to sniff the ground. Oh, I think I want to have something to eat because my stomach was really, really flat for several days and I have to have something at least to satisfy me because all I know is during the winter, there at least still has to be something on the ground. All I know is that all the animals that I currently am hunting are hibernating under the ground. And with that, he continued to sniff the ground, hoping to find some potential scent of a food. Then the fox wondered something else. Oh, it looks like I sniffed for a long time and I still couldn't find any scent of food. Then he decided if he wanted to eat a twig. However, as he knew, foxes couldn't eat twigs, so he just regarded that idea and moved on. As the fox moved closer, sniffing the ground for a potential scent, he stopped in front of a tree, and then he started to smell something delicious. And that deliciousness made his mouth water just like Crow's. He gazed up. It turned out that the fox had stopped in front of the same tree that the crow was sitting on with the piece of meat in her mouth. And while the fox looked up, the crow was busily eating the piece of meat, spooking one bite in her mouth every time. Then The fox got an idea that he wanted to steal the meat from the crow, so he came up with his plan, and it was also very, very cunning and very, very sly. So he began. "Hello, Miss Crow. Your feathers are so elegant and dainty that no other bird would ever want to meet such a bird like you." Crow nodded in dismay, as she knew that her feathers were very, very elegant as well as dainty. The fox continued on. "What beautiful eyes for a bird you have! Oh, you must be very attractive to other birds, as they will never see a bird with this beautiful of an eye." Crow still nodded, as she knew her eyes were also beautiful and gleaming. Then the fox got his last and most vicious plan. "Oh, because I complimented on all of your features, it turns out that I have one more thing to ask you, and would you please beg this favor for me? What I was asking for you is, could you please sing a little tune for me, because I want to hear your voice. I know that a crow has the most beautiful voice among birds. I know that even a lark cannot dare to compete with the crow." So Crow listened to the fox's advice. So she moved to a part of the branch where he can see her. Then the crow started to flap her wings and started to open her mouth to sing. She sang in her best voice and started to sing this small little lullaby for Fox. She began. However, Crow was unwary that she did one mistake, and that was a big, big mistake. While she was singing her lullaby, the piece of steak from her mouth dropped slowly from her mouth and onto the ground and landed right in front of the cunning fox. When Fox saw the piece of meat drop onto the ground, he was so delighted that he leapt toward the meat, picked it up in his mouth, and ran away into the forest as fast as he could, leaving Crow with nothing to eat. And this is the end of our fable, The Fox and the Crow. This fable teaches us a very important life lesson, and that is, you shouldn't trust somebody who is very sly like Fox, who wants to get a bad idea out of you. Also, what you should do is to not be like Crow, thinking, I should think twice before speaking to any stranger. And this is the end of our storytelling for today. Check out our next videos coming up if you want to see more storytelling sessions, and please consider to subscribe if you want to see more. See you soon!
Like, share, and subscribe to Brooks and Evelyn for more new videos.
The Fox and the Crow.